Hello guys and welcome to my 2023 top 10 movies of the year. I will be doing a bottom 10 movies of the year at a later date if you want to check that out. It's obviously just a bit of fun, it's not massive negativity about movies. I'm not a critic, it's just ones I didn't enjoy, I thought it would be fun. So before we get into our top 10 movies of the year, let me give you a few honourable mentions. I'm not going to talk about plot with any of these, we're going to just try and get through so you're not watching me waffle all day. So Are You There God? It's Me, Margaret. Really enjoyed, really fresh, innovative movie. Not a type of genre that I tend to go for, but I really enjoyed it. Leave the World Behind, which is one that's just popped up on Netflix recently, which I only watched last week and really enjoyed. Even with its rather abrupt, unusual ending, it didn't ruin it for me. The Creator, which is one I saw at the cinema earlier this year. Absolutely loved the story, the humanity of it, which is quite ironic given the title. Or given the premise, and Flash, which I don't care, I really enjoyed it. I found it really emotional. The scene in the supermarket with his mum, the CG was dodgy, yes it was, but the Supermans, it showed, right, okay, spoiler if you haven't seen Flash, just don't watch for 5 seconds. Christopher Reeve and Nicolas Cage as Superman. I tell you, all my Christmases came at once. That should have happened, it didn't happen, but it showed, in the flesh, it made it for me. Obviously I enjoyed the movie, I enjoyed the story, but that. So that's my honourable mentions. Let's fire into the top 10 movies, in my opinion, in my taste, of 2023. So in at number 10 is a movie which is a remake, I believe, of a Spanish movie. The English version is called Champions. This stars Woody Harrelson, who is a field basketball coach who's sent to coach a team for the Special Olympics. This is fabulous, the characters are all wonderful. It's a real, one of those heart-swelling movies that you just can't help but love the characters, everyone in it. You just are really invested if you watch this movie and everyone. You know where it's going to go, you've kind of got a good idea, but you don't care. You're just enjoying the ride anyway. So that's my number 10. Number 9 is a movie called Accused. Now, if you watch a channel called Jim Jam Talks Movies and TV, I believe it's called, he does a series called Pick the Flick, where this is the movie that I recommended to him to check out and he loved it. It's a kind of lesser known movie, it's on Netflix, it's a British movie, and what I loved about this is it's very modern in its premise. It follows a person being incorrectly identified as someone that could be responsible for a potential that's planted a bomb. It's not the individual that the world seems to think it is, but it shows how this spreads on social media, it shows the seed of where it started. It shows how it continues, how everything blows up until we have vigilantes trying to hunt down this guy. Fabulous performances in this one. I really loved the fact it felt really new, it felt really different, it felt like something that really could happen. You feel proper real fear and tension for this guy. Really recommend it. It's called Accused. At number 8 is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Perhaps it should be higher on this list. I really enjoyed it. Tom Cruise, he never fails to deliver. Really enjoyable movie. I went with my family to see this. We all really enjoyed it. I just think you always come to expect when you go to see, apart from The Mummy, Jesus wept, that was bad. When you go to see Tom Cruise, you generally are going to be rewarded with what you go to see. He's just one of those stars that can pretty much do anything and you're going to enjoy it. So Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning is my number 8. At number 7 is a movie called The Killer. This is one I saw quite recently, also on Netflix. This follows a assassin. How much do I say about this movie? It follows an assassin, something goes wrong. He spends the rest of this movie trying to put right what went wrong, but not in the way you maybe think. It's very dry, it's very cold. He's a very unemotionless character. As a matter of fact, he wasn't allowed to blink on camera because they want to make him look as cruel and calculating and emotionless as possible, and I think Michael Fassbender, who plays the role, carried it off implicitly. He was fantastic. I started this movie and in the first 20 minutes I thought, I'm going to hate this. It had that real noir feel to it that sometimes I love, but most of the time not. So I find it a bit pretentious. Sin City did it amazingly, but I was like, but I persevered and I'm glad I did, and I ended up absolutely loving this movie. So The Killer is my number 7. So number 6 is a movie called A Good Person, which I think has gone under the radar a little. Sorry, I'm just opening my Letterboxd because I can't remember the name of the girl that's in it, and I know she's like quite a respected actress. Florence Pugh, how could I forget? Florence Pugh, Morgan Freeman, Molly Shannon, Celeste O'Connor. So this follows a very unlikely relationship between Morgan Freeman and Florence Pugh. They are linked in a way. I won't explain how that is, but this is very much drama based. It's character driven. If you like to see things about complex characters and working through things, coming to realizations, changing their life, if you're interested in that kind of sort of meaty, meat on the bones character story, this is an absolutely beautiful story. So A Good Person is number 6. Number 5 is a movie called Nowhere. This is also on Netflix. This is a Spanish movie that follows a group of migrants who are in like boat containers trying to escape. One of those migrants finds herself in a container on her own. She's very heavily pregnant and she goes into labour. She is lost at sea, giving birth to this baby, and she has to try and survive. This movie follows how she got into the situation, how she came to be on her own, the birth of the baby, and her attempts at survival. Fabulous movie carried by this actress, implicitly, absolutely wonderfully acted. I was transfixed from start to finish of this movie. I absolutely adore it. Anybody I know that has seen it really enjoyed it, although I don't think it will make a lot of people's top 10 this year, and I really wanted to sort of like champion this one. It's fabulous, so please check it out, guys. Okay, so my number 4 made my top 10 horrors of the year. It was such a refreshing change to see horror just knock it out of the park with Thanksgiving. If you're a fan of the slasher, you will not have seen one much better than this in quite a number of years, I would imagine. Slashers for me had begun to get quite stale. We've seen it all before. We've seen it done 100 times. Everyone has their favourite franchise, of course, but for me, we needed something new, and Thanksgiving brought that in spades. Absolutely fabulous, hilariously funny, which I did not expect it to be. For me, horror and comedy aren't genres I like to mix generally, because so rarely is it done right. But this year, quite a few. In my top 10 horrors, I have a number of horror comedies, which even surprises me. So yeah, Thanksgiving comes in number 4 on my top 10 movies of the year. If you're a horror fan, please check it out. But if you're not a horror fan, it's very brutal, it's very bloody. You will probably need to look away if you don't enjoy that kind of thing. So my number 3 is a personal one. It won't appeal to everyone, and that is Renfield. I've waited my entire life to see Nicolas Cage star as Dracula, and here we finally get to see it. It's another one of those rare horror comedies which worked amazingly for me. The vibrancy of it, even though the effects were very CGI heavy, I still enjoyed the movie. I liked the style that it presented everything in. I liked the acting. It just seemed like very hammed up. It seemed very, like OTT, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Nicolas Cage knocks it out of the park, as for me, generally he always does. I'm a big fan. So Renfield comes in at my number 3. My number 2 is an animation, and it's Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I have been so surprised by these Spider-Verse movies. The 2 animated movies are by far my favourite Spider-Man movies. I absolutely adore them. I think they're so fast-paced, so well-driven. The characters are so well-defined. They have so many different versions of Spider-Man in there. There's always going to be one that you relate to. How cool was the punk Spider? Is it Spider-Punk? How cool was he? Absolutely fabulous. My son's jaw was on the floor when he saw him. He wants to be Spider-Punk. But I just feel they're so well done. Absolutely loved it. I love the first one. I adore this one. And you just throw as many of these at me as you can, and I will watch every single one of them. So Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is my number 2. So number 1, guys, if you watched my top 10 horrors, you will already know what's at number 1 for my top 10 movies of the year. And I couldn't be any more surprised than any of you watching. My number 1 movie of 2023 is Godzilla Minus One. I was so surprised by this. This is one that I went to see because I heard a few people talk about how much they enjoyed it. And when I heard that, I thought, right, I need to get on this. They weren't showing it locally, so I had to travel to another town to watch it. I went with my husband and son, and all 3 of us were blown away by it. Everything about this movie is fabulous, down to the effects, the human story that runs in the background, the soundtrack, the cinematography. It's a real journey. It took me back to movies years ago that I would watch as a kid and just feel like I was transported somewhere else. It was fabulous. Even though it seemed quite traditional in its style, quite old-fashioned, it was so innovative, it was so fresh. They took ideas from older movies, obviously. I believe I read that they took the original Godzilla roar through a speaker and recorded it for his roar. I believe I read that. But it's fabulous, guys. I can't give you a negative about the movie. It's absolutely jaw-droppingly fantastic. So Godzilla Minus One makes my #1 movie of 2023, guys. So let me know below what you thought of my list. If you want to write your favourites down there, please feel free. If you're going to be doing a video, obviously let me know and I will check that out also. Thanks for watching, guys. This year has been overall a pretty decent year for movies, I feel. Let's all look forward to 2024 and what that brings for us. And with that, thanks so much for watching, guys. I shall do a couple of videos with my least favourite movies, just for a bit of a giggle, nothing serious. And I shall look forward to speaking to you next time. Over and out from Lisa Lips.